Hi, everyone. This is Kathy Mason with MasonWorks Marketing here today on Conscious Business Zone with Nina J. Patrick. Hi, Nina. How are you?
Hi, Kathy. I'm great. Thank you for
Oh, I'm so glad
inviting me.
you're here because I want to learn all about everything. So I want to first read so that everyone knows a little bit about Nina, and the L stands for Louise. Um, she's a spiritual mentor, facilitator, and educator. She's a former co-president for the Foundation for Conscious Evolution. She's a former formative steward for Good of the Whole. She's the founder of Sacred Travel Initiative, and she's the founder of Conscious Evolutionary Chicagoland. And Nina and I have a similarity that we have both come from corporate. I ran a division of Arthur Anderson and worked in corporate besides working for myself, and she did too. So we escaped. Yeah. So Nina, oh great, and Elsie's here. Good morning, Elsie. So Nina, tell us a little bit about your journey to the. You have a project called the Milagro World Center, but if you want, it'd be fun to hear the journey to that, even if you'd like to start there.
Sure, I'd be happy to.
Okay.
So, good morning, everyone. I'm really delighted to be here. Thank you, Kathy, for the invitation. And Joseph and I are often so much in the midst of bringing forth these different initiatives that we don't often have time to talk about who we are. So, this is a really beautiful opportunity to speak to it. And I left corporate in 2013. I had started with some studies with Barbara Marx Hubbard, and my focus shifted. I had been doing working in corporate, I should say, for about 30 years and had done most everything that I wanted to do. And I was looking for something that would capture my attention in a place where I could give back. And Barbara had offered this course called Agents of Conscious Evolution.
Right.
And it was with the intention to contribute back into the world towards a loving, good, and creative world. And so it really started me on this path that I'm on right now. And I would have never anticipated that, a few short years later, that I would be co-president of her foundation, really helping her to reactivate what was happening within her organization. But that is what happened. And so I want to just say that the gift when I left corporate was discovering this conscious community that we're a part of.
Yeah.
And that has really become my passion, is to hold space for our deepening relationships, that intimacy, and to bring others into it. Inevitably, when someone new comes into our community within the Milagro World Center and others that I've been a part of, many beautiful communities out there, there's this resounding sharing that they feel like they've come home.
Right.
There's a being fully received. There's an opening for them to be in their fuller expression and be heard for who they are. So I must say that that really is at the center of everything that Joseph and I do. So I would say the crown jewel and really the foundation of the Milagro World Center are the individuals that are part of the community. Mm-hmm. And our vision with the community is humanity's potential realized. Right. So that everything that we do supports that. There's several initiatives under that banner. So your question was, how did I arrive here? And it was really a slow process. I was thinking this morning, it's been 7 years really since I started with this community and with this higher purpose and shared vision.
Yeah. Oh, I'm so glad. So what was it like? Were you with Barbara when she was at the UN doing her peace her peace council. Were you part of that too?
I
Because
was
you got
very,
to travel with Barbara. Everyone that's on here, if you don't know Barbara Marx Hubbard, she was a futurist. She just passed last year, or at the beginning of this year, I guess. And and Roxanne Schweppe is here. Hi, Roxanne. Anyway, Barbara Marx Hubbard was a futurist who inspired so many of us in so many ways to see the evolution of humanity in a positive way. There's so many people out there that show humanity as beasts and animals and scrapping to hurt each other, whereas there's lots of other ways to look at humanity as a community and a unity identity. And Nina was a huge supporter and asset for Barbara for her in her work. Just maybe 3 years within the past 3 years, right?
yeah, I was working with her very closely. Well, she came to Chicago quite often when we were having events. Her son was in this area, so there were 4 of us: Jean Shinners and Linda Rosenthal and Kathy Hare. The 4 of us were creating events in the Chicagoland area, and it was around the movement for positive change. So we were celebrating individuals, groups, and organizations that were really doing good things here in this area. And we're just recreating that initiative right now. It was Conscious Evolutionary Chicagoland, and now it is named Conscious Chicagoland.
Perfect.
And we will be looking at more events like that. So that's one of the initiatives of the Milagro World Center now.
That's wonderful. Yeah. So when you traveled with her, though, you must have met, like I got to meet Alexander Laszlo, the son of Ernest Laszlo, when I helped do a function here for ISSS, and you might have met his father. So you got to rub elbows with some of the most luminaries of our time. I mean, really.
Did. Yeah.
What was that like? I mean, were you kind of shell shocked, or were you like?
No. I really don't put anyone on that pedestal, myself included. You know what I'm saying? That's why when I come to you and share with you about the Milagro World Center, it really is about the community. And I think that that's what we're moving into, is that the new guru, if you will, is community.
Right.
So I adored and, reveled in just sitting and listening and being in the presence of some of these individuals, no question about it. But it wasn't as though, it was, I didn't think of it that way, as if they were someone that was in a special place, in a place that wouldn't be accessible to me.
Well, I just thought that might have been, because I know when I was around everybody, because I've gotten to be around a lot of the Hay House authors, and I'm friends with them, I think. I never felt different than them.
Yeah, right.
I was inspired.
Honored. Oh, God, yes.
Totally like, wow, what a life mission. What a soul path. What courageous expression of it. That, I mean, when you think about it, some of these people, they were so early in the game, and they didn't really have community. They had to make community.
Right.
Where now it's a lot easier.
Absolutely. They didn't have the technology to connect. And what I really honor and appreciate is the commitment and the dedication and devotion. Same thing for Barbara. That question arose from her when she was 15, and she held it to the day she died, which was, what is the meaning of our power for good? And so there was such devotion, and she came from wealth, and she took that wealth and used it to promote this vision that she had for the world. And it really is, she created the positive she created this the positive world view of evolution.
Yes, she
So,
did.
yeah.
And she held that. I mean, that's what I think it needs, is that you almost need a leader or a, a high frequency person to be able to hold that, because it's a wave form, right? If you think of consciousness, and she was holding that future vision that we were rebirthing, that it wasn't the destruction and fear everything, and God's not a fearful God, that whole, the other side of the possibilities. It's actually from a possibility space of what we can all do together. And then she was doing whatever she could, even after 2012, to build hubs. But I'm not sure. I know that I tried to do something here in Boulder, and it didn't work. So I think she didn't have the infrastructure. Maybe she was a visionary.
Yes. That's what I would say, is she was a visionary. And so interesting. When working very closely with her, I've shared this with many others, working very closely with her, it was very interesting because my role was to bring her vision into form.
Wow.
As soon as any one of us were bringing something into form, it's almost as though it felt as if it was restrictive to her, because she couldn't be in that full place of possibility. Once you land something, once you ground it, there's a decision that's made, there's a choice that's made about the way it looks. So I learned something really important about visionaries, that we each play a different role. And so Barbara was truly a visionary, and it's up to us really now to bring all of these different things into form. And I want to speak to, when we have a moment, Keepers of the Turn, because it's really inspired by this work.
Okay. Well, okay. So to give us some insight about the Milagro World Center, what do you do within it?
So we offer education, events, and transformational retreats, and also community space. It's really a space for deeply connected community. So while I was saying that, the foundation and the crown jewel of our work is our community, there are 2 to 3 calls a week that we have. And the first is on Thursdays, where it is a call for co-creative visionary leaders. And we continue to redefine what that means. What does it mean to be in co-creation? What does it mean to be visionary? What does it mean to be a leader in our world today?
Right.
But not only that, we're redefining what it means to be fully capacitated, fully expressed as an individual and as a community.
Beautiful.
So that is really our work when we come together. But I have to say, it's remarkable because, again, it's not Joseph and I facilitating these calls. Each person, each individual contributes something to the wisdom of that call. We start with one thread, and by the next thing we know, we're holding multiple threads, and this beautiful tapestry that we create together. And we're all we're all taken by it. We're all in this place of surprise and delight and mystery at what unfolds. And one other thing I want to say that's so important is we inspire each other to do more. We inspire each other to create more and to be more out in the world. We're nudging each other. We're reminding each other of what we can be.
So how does that look? I mean, I'm a project manager type person. I'm a getter done. You are too. You came from corporate, because there's check off things on a sheet of to do. When you do your travel, you certainly have to do it that way. This is covered, check, check, check. And there's some gratification with that. How do you let the space be open enough to allow do you have a structure to your calls where you have one person that's raised their hand that they're going to speak?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, we do. Well, we just shifted for this call that I'm speaking of. We just shifted from the Maestro platform, so it was just audio, to a Zoom call. So it's a little bit more free flowing now than it had been in the past. But one person speaks at a time and shares until they're fully complete. We less so on this call, but because we're speaking about projects and initiatives, but sometimes we do enter into that timeless space. The most important thing is that everybody feels heard. So we depend on everyone's level of maturity to know when they've spoken too much, and to, then hand over the talking feather to the next person. But in general, we each feel really complete by the time the next person speaks. So there's a beautiful flow that happens, Kathy, after time. You kind of get into a rhythm with each other.
And how many people are usually on those calls?
I would say on the community calls, we have about, I really haven't been counting lately, and it always fluctuates, but I would say about a dozen in the last several weeks.
Wonderful, wonderful. And so are the projects sponsored by Milagro, or are they featured somewhere on their on your site? Or I've got your site here. I'm going to show it again.
Yeah. Well, the Keepers of the Turn program is sponsored by the Milagro World Center. So we have within our community a Keepers Council, and that Keepers Council has been working to define the path of the keeper. Excuse me, I have a tickle in my throat.
I understand.
And we're also working on a retreat in Costa Rica.
Wonderful.
So in that call, it's more oriented towards accomplishing what needs to be accomplished to make certain things happen. So it's kind of it's an offshoot of the Thursday call.
Like a board meeting.
Somewhat like that.
Only not as
yeah. I wouldn't call it that, but
well, no, I mean, there's the workers have to get together to make it happen versus the inspiration and the idea gathering, right? Are those?
Well, I think there's both that happens in that space too. But it's been a beautiful unfolding, because we're talking about co-creation too. So we're also on that call, we're co-creating with each other, we're co-creating with spirit, and we're co-creating with nature.
Beautiful.
So spirit leads much of what it is that we're in the unfoldment of. Mm-hmm. And we're also working with the land. So right now we've placed a request with the land of Costa Rica to co-create with us. Beautiful. As we introduce and bring forward this notion of keepers of the turn. So this is the great turn towards a loving, good, and creative world. And each of us has a keepership. And there's a path to that keepership. We're working with Sue Semino, who you know.
Yes.
She is a very integral part of the first step of the path of the keeper, where we remove all the blocks that keep us from our fuller expression and understanding what's ours to do. Wonderful. And then the next part of that is really getting a deeper understanding of who we are, and then what do we do with that? So it will be an extraordinary gathering in Costa Rica and time together. Yeah.
Wonderful. So, but the overall mission, could you state what that is so that people understand? Because we're sort of skirting around what it is, where it is, how you join, if you join. So I'd like people to understand how they can use you as a resource and benefit as well from this incredible platform that you started.
Sure. Yeah, I don't want to skirt around any of what it is we're doing. So what I would say is there's 2 free calls a week. And the first one is the Co-Creative Visionary Leader calls on Thursday, and you can go to the milagroworldcenter.com and register for those calls.
Okay.
And it's a Zoom platform, and so everyone's welcome, and some of our participants come and go and attend as they can. It's always a place to be nourished. The second is our Sunday call, which is Keepers of the Miraculous, and that's a calling in the field of the miraculous. This is really powerful, deep work that we do, and we have had some extraordinary experiences within that. It's a Sunday call. We definitely move into a timeless space. It often goes for 2 hours or more. And we are invoking the field of the miraculous and really deepening into what that means to each of us. The other opportunities for education, we have a course with Patricia Ellsberg, Barbara Marx Hubbard's sister. Registration is open for a February course called Opening to Divine Eros. We've had, some rave reviews and testimonials for that. You can go to the website, milagroworldcenter.com, and register for that.
Okay.
We're also doing some work with Penny Pierce. We had an amazing session with her on intuition, how to become an expert intuitive. It was much more than any of us anticipated. So we're working with Penny on her next offering. We just came back from England and Scotland. We do transformational retreats. And we're planning this year the Costa Rica retreat to launch Keepers of the Turn. And that can be accessed at sayyesandrise.com, or you can access it through the website as well.
Okay.
And last but not least, we are planning a 10-day journey to Scotland in September of 2020. So we have 2 journeys planned in 2020. And there's so much more to come. I haven't even spoken. I'm in Wild Raspberry right now.
Okay.
So this is our location in Chicago. This is where we base ourselves most days. And this is a resale shop. And we also have mini workshops that we do here. And we are supporting the movement for sustainability. And this also supports the projects of the Milagro World Center. And you can find out more about that by going to wild-raspberry.com.
Okay.
And also access through our main website too. And you'll see some of what we're reselling here actually. So we're already bursting at the seams. We've been open since April 27th. We're looking at a larger space. So fingers and toes crossed that all goes well with that and we can really expand. But this is definitely a sustainable practice. What we're doing, we're upcycling, recycling. We have an amazing, Laura Dem-Lazitska who works with us. She's just an amazing team member. We have a few volunteers. So that's Wild Raspberry. And I think I spoke to some of the other initiatives. Anything that you want to do with our Milagro World Center can be accessed through that main website.
Okay.
There's lots of free offerings, and Joseph and I always encourage anyone to send us a note or an email. We're happy to get on a phone call or a Zoom and just share more about what it is we're doing.
So how do you see conscious business evolving since this is Conscious Business Zone? I'm very hopeful, and I'm hopeful that leaders are the key component to change, because the more conscious the leader is, the more conscious the business can be. How do you see this? Because we're in turmoil. And the energies, I don't know about you, but the energies are quite demanding. They have been, and they're not going to get less. So how do you see it?
Well, my sense is that we provide feedback to each other, much like what I was saying about the calls that we're on together. We have to feed back to each other how well we're doing, because it's really important for us to be walking our talk, isn't it?
Encouragement. I see.
Encouragement, absolutely, and reminders. I am over 60, so I need those reminders. And through the storytelling from each individual that shows up, I'm reminded of how I can be more, do more, create more, support, these different movements that are important. So it really is, I think that is a very important element of it, is that we feed back to each other how well we're doing.
But as far as your future vision, are you hoping that like, for instance, your Wild Raspberry store could be modeled everywhere, not a franchise, but
Right.
it could be in other locations.
Yeah, Costa Rica has already expressed an interest in it. They want us to send, they want us already to send product down there. So I absolutely see that this could be, that there could be many wild raspberries out there. And the raspberry is an ancient symbol for kindness. How beautiful is that, right?
That's perfect.
It is.
That's
And,
perfect.
and one of the what is loved here, and I know Laura's sitting next to me and she could speak to this, but it's the vibe we create. It's the energy that we hold here that everyone really appreciates and loves, and it's part of the reason that they come back. So I call us covert light ops here.
Well, people are love starved. I mean, and they're in fear. There's if people watch television, or if they're just, it's, the energies are quite strong for sensitives. I'm highly sensitive, so I mean, it's one day you're really okay, and the next day it's a little like, okay, Kathy, I can do it, but the energies are very different, and it's all an inner job. So in your training ideas, do you have a platform that you do virtual trainings, online trainings?
We were using Maestro
Or,
and Zoom. We were using Maestro, then we were using Maestro and Zoom, and now we're using Zoom primarily.
yeah, that's what I do.
Yeah, and everything is resident on the on a website, so the materials are accessible afterwards, downloadable.
Wonderful.
And I just want to speak, Kathy, to what you're saying about the strength of the energies, because it is so true. And I think it's we're being asked to step up more fully, and it's requiring more strength and more courage and more resilience than we've ever been asked for.
Right.
And that's part of the reason that we're creating this Costa Rica event too, is to support that. It's for us to say yes more fully, but it's also for us to realize exactly what you're saying, is that now is the time where we have to pull our inner resources. We have to embody it more fully so that we can withstand those currents, right? Those.
Well, it's either trying to ride it like a surfer, or get hammered. I mean, I think of it as water, and sometimes it's like, whoops, one's coming after, I better get above it. Just so you ride it, bend your knees a little bit, and do that, rather than get hammered and get incapacitated, so you can't do what you came here to do. So that's a stop. It's a clearing. We should be grateful for all of this light that's coming in. It's upgrading and helping so many people, but it is wonderful to have community to help. So Elsie said Inside Out, which is part of her creative paradigm. And Jade Rader's here, and Pamela Jane Durand is here.
Awesome.
Just so you know. And Zach Burton said, the energies you pay attention to are the ones you experience. Thank you. Choose wisely. Sure, there may be a bunch of frantic activity, although it's a myth that we are accelerating now more than in the past. Walk peacefully amidst the noise and hate.
Oh, my goodness. That is, Kathy, that's from that Desiderata, Walk placidly amid the noise and haste. Do you remember Desiderata?
Oh, yeah, that's from Marianne Williamson's book. That's one of my favorite books, that Burgundy book. But wow, the time has always been the present, and there is no other. Sometimes you just need to stop.
Beautiful.
Thanks, Zach. You always have an enlightened view. Thank you, Zach, so much. So Jade and Elsie and Pamela, do you have any questions for Nina, or any conversation? It would be wonderful to have your voice here. And we do have Donna's on. Oh, yes. He said, yes, Desirata on my wall. Thank you, Zach. And Rosemary's here. So So thank you. So the way I met Nina is that we both have been involved with a group called the Co-Creators Convergence, which meets once a year at Sunrise Ranch, and we enter the field of possibilities together. And I've been going there last year was my 6th year. I don't know how many times, Nina, how many times have you gone?
I just missed 1 year. So
Okay, 6 then.
mhm.
Yeah, so we're both the same. And what it is you enter this field. It's very similar to what Nina's doing with her group. It sounds like where you enter this field where people show up and they share their passion, their life's mission, their vision of their gifts, and they share them freely and get experience with how others interpret it. It feels like soul group when you're in together. And oh, good. And Sue's here. Okay, so Elsie wants to ask Sue. Samino's here. Hi, Sue B. And Elsie says, can we talk a bit about fear and or not being aware? You want to that, Nina?
When we talk about fear or not being aware, I think they're two different topics. Are you relating both the same?
It says and or.
And or not being aware.
Yeah, so it could be, we could talk about fear and then we could talk about not being aware. They're two separate. But I think this is where, we're conscious people navigating, and anything that you share of your perspective may help create an aha for someone else. So I think that's why Elsie's offering that as a discussion.
Well, I know that I'm in the practice of learning how to embrace the fear. It's to really appreciate the fear and move ahead in whatever direction is calling me in spite of it. And it, as I practice that more and more, I know that there are many others who are more adept at it than I am. But it's a good practice. It's a good practice to embrace it. And what we're doing inside of the people's council in that program, really, this shift, this turn to a loving, good, and creative world is really about a turn from apathy to hope and fear to love. And separation to unity. They all go together. And when we move into deeper community with each other, that fear really does dissolve. And you feel fully received and fully accepted, and know that we can make mistakes, and know that we'll be held if we say the wrong thing or do the wrong thing, and loved anyway.
Right.
The peace dissolves. And so my sense is that the work that we're doing as conscious community is helping others to feel that safety.
Yes, that sounds beautiful. So Sue put down, Joseph is your partner in most of these activities. Maybe share a bit about him.
Oh, I would love to share a bit about him. So it's part of the history of how I came to do what I'm doing as well. I was still working in corporate when it was one of my fellow students in Barbara's program that mentioned this journey to England at the Chalice Well. And
So excuse me, Nina, everyone, we're having a little trouble hearing you. I don't know what happened.
Can you hear me better now?
Yes, what happened? Yeah, that's much.
I had a piece of paper on the desktop there.
Oh, much better. Thank you so much.
Okay, good. So I met Joseph in 2012. I met him at one of the most sacred sites in the world. For this journey, when I was invited to this journey, I tell this story all the time. I said, I have a new director at work that I'm reporting to. I can't go. I didn't plan for the money. I had all these reasons why I couldn't go. And then 2 weeks before the journey, I decided I was going to do it. And look what happened. I met Joseph for the first time. And, it was this turn of events where we decided to lead one journey together. And then it just unfolded into our a greater purpose, to be together, to do this work. So Joseph was former guardian of the Chalice Well. So he was there for 3 years and was responsible for, the grounds and the retreat center and education and everything that happened there. He actually transitioned it from a place that was not profitable to profitable, and it's doing really well right now. But there were 60,000 people that came through those gates.
Wow.
That were transformed by being in that sacred place. And so when he felt complete at the Chalice Well and left there, he knew that a great part of his work was going to be leading people to sacred places. He has a website, josephrosato.com, if anyone wants to know more about Joseph. He's a deep thinker and writer. He's owned several restaurants, a yoga studio. He's just has a rich, diverse background, and he's very passionate, and any conversation you enter into, you'll be inspired in some way. Yeah.
Well, we got Rosemary says, Buenos dias from Costa Rica. Nina, your sound has become almost inaudible. We fixed it. And then she said, gracias. It's good now. Mm-hmm. And then Kathy Roberts. Hi, Kate. Kathy Roberts is on. She says, I find Nina to be authentic and altruistic. Perhaps you could describe how you bring folks into finding their keepership. And just before you do that, I did put the website up again, because if you look under the Founders and Stewards tab on the website, you'll be able to read more about Nina and Joseph. So that'll help you if you want to ground some more of this information. I want to make sure that you can find it. Okay, thanks, Nina. So
I would like to take a moment just to acknowledge our Keepers Council, because several are on this call right now. So Sue Semino and Kate Roberts and Rosemary Zaitek and David Powell and Donna Rose and Joseph, of course. So these are, and Elsie has just joined the Keepers Council with us. Wonderful. So I just want to acknowledge their devotion to bringing this forward as well. And yes, of course, Kate, I will mention the process that begins the path of keepership. And part of that is for us to remove what stops us from coming into our fuller expression. Where are the places that we get stuck? And we all get stuck somewhere, right? No matter where we are on the path, there's something that's preventing us from coming into a fuller, deeper expression of who we are. So I had mentioned earlier in the call, we work with Sue. Sue is the person that we are working with right now to help us move through that. She has a wholeness alignment process that I've been a part of, and Kathy, I know that you have been too.
Yes.
And it's a really powerful process that takes us through lifetimes and all dimensions to clear the path for what's next for us. And then once we have that clearing, which is really interesting because we talk about the path of the keeper, it's almost like clearing the path, right? Cutting the path so that's clear, so that you can step on it. So then we move into really looking at what excites you, what is your passion, and a key element for me is, where do you lose track of time? What is it that what are you doing when you lose track of time? Because I think it's one of those key indications of, what is so deep in your soul that's yours to bring forward. And sometimes it can just be making somebody smile.
Right.
That's the beauty of this. This is for everyone. You could be working on peace with your sister or your brother, or you could be working on world peace at very high levels. And no matter where on that spectrum you're working, it's just as important of a contribution towards our shared vision of what this world should look like, how we create that heaven on earth. So that's part of it, is really discovering with each other. So we see, we're with a large group, so we're seeing each other and sharing with each other what we see. Then we come into speaking more fully about what we see as the highest version of the fullest expression of who we are. So
Beautiful.
we like stretch to imagine what it would look like as our fullest and highest expression. And then we step on the path, and then we talk about what it means to stay on the path, and then how to teach others as well. So I
Sounds
hope that
like my work.
wasn't too lengthy.
Sounds like my work too. Elsie put, I have also experienced Sue's outstanding process. So want to give a shout out for Sue Semino. Her stuff's amazing, amazing. But this sounds very similar to I feel that my life mission is to help as many people wake up to their divinity as possible.
Right.
So it sounds like very similar to what I know I'm here for. And what a wonderful crew that you have together. I don't know everybody, but I know most of them.
Well, this is an opportunity for us. I think we do share. Many of us share this, Kathy, and I know that that's where you're at. I see you supporting so many, and even in this moment, myself included, in speaking about declaring what our keepership is, declaring what's important to us, and sharing it with others. So I believe that it is. We share that purpose. Many of us.
Well,
so how do we come together and bring that to the larger audience? Because one thing I notice is that we stay within our conscious community, and it's important for us to reach out further and wider. And that's part of the reason we felt Wild Raspberry was important, because we're reaching a different audience. It is outside of our conscious community.
Well, again, it's sharing love at a whole different level, and a clear frequency of the heart, and everyone's love starved. That's in this human expression right now. So rebirthing that's what I think Barbara really meant when she said rebirthing 2012. This new human, the new human was vibrating from an inner frequency of love, and filling their light body with that love, and touching everyone they can every day in every way. And what's beautiful is that you're using Zoom, and you're using ways for people that understand and recognize this as their path, as an opportunity for them. You're offering free ways for them to join you virtually, and this energy does transmit through digital means. It's very powerful. It can clear obstacles, lifelong obstacles for people very quickly. Zach said, dude, love starved, love is infinite and for the taking. Zach, not everyone knows. That's what I indeed agreed in every way, but not everyone knows, right? Not everybody has worked through their childhood obstacles or their soul expression that they had thought would be clever way to learn for this time around. What were we thinking? But anyway.
So we spoke a little bit about fear for Elsie. One of the other things she mentioned was speaking to not being aware.
Yeah, that's
what would you say about that, Kathy? What would you say?
Well, I think everyone's soul is at this point nudging them to experience things. Their soul is bringing people, places, and things around them that allows them to step out. Whether or not they see it is their choice. It's, they're sovereign beings. But I think that there's so much support in the unseen part of who we are, in the higher dimensions of who we are. And as we expand our frequency, I mean, Susamino, Elsie, some of these people on this call can walk in a room and shift the frequency in the room, right? And intend that. I intend that. I'm sure you do too. So once you intend that, then you're creating a field for everyone's soul to connect to them, because that's really the benefit of being a multidimensional being. And once you do that, it's so many gifts, so many opportunities, so much fun, so much joy can come through. Donna Rose put, when we expand our frequency through our heart and mind, we evolve, and those. I think she meant and those around us. But yeah, so I think that's my experience, is that there's so much opportunity for growth at this point.
There is. That was beautifully expressed, Kathy. Thank you.
So how do you experience?
Well, the not being, when I think of not being aware, just in response to what you just said, is that there's an element of our not being aware of how much support is there for us in the other dimensions. I think that's something for us to be in witness to. I don't think that we are aware of the level of support. And when we move on Sundays, we call in the highest realms of support, so that we're doing that once a week. It's been said many times, right? The angels are there, but we have free will, so we need to ask. And so once a week, we know that we're asking. And I think it was St. Augustine that said, God expects us to ask good things of Him. Right?
Yes.
So that's what we do too. We ask for
And
what we want on the grand scale.
And I think that's what the group can help each other with, is reminding each other when they get out of that knowing, remind them the assets that they have and the attitude they can have, because a lot of this is attitude. It's not just frequency. It's the expectation and attitude that everything is divine and will work for you. Sue wrote, there is so much help available to us, and so many people don't allow themselves to fully receive it because of a deep-seated unworthiness.
And that's what Sue helps us to break through.
Yeah.
So see the pieces all come together.
Yeah, it's a hero's journey, right? It really is.
It is a hero's journey, and Elsie is on the call with us, and she has this quote from Jean Houston. Can I share it with you?
Sure. Your sound is a little funny again. Do you have a piece of paper near again?
How about now?
Better. Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
So the heart of the world is calling for you with your special gifts and unique perspectives. What can you do? What will you do? If each person does something, the whole planet will shift. Sit quietly with your authentic heart and ask the question. It's no accident that you're here at this time. What draws you?
Right. Perfect.
And that is part of why, Elsie has joined us on this journey to open up this global conversation and practice, is because she too, is aligned. And Kathy, we invite you to join us as well.
Oh, thank you.
Yes, absolutely.
Yes, perfect. Well, Zach wrote a whole bunch about repeat from above. Fear is associated with victim. So he's reminding us to stay out of it. Thank you, Zach. When we're off, I'll definitely go after that comment. Thank you so much. And thank you everyone for being here and adding so much. There's so much love here in the feed. And Nina, just thank you for what you and Joseph are doing and showing leadership so that so many people can have the benefit of support in these times and co-creation. That I really believe that that's the gig. I mean, I don't think that Jesus is coming back or Buddha is coming back as one being. I think it's a group of consciousness. And so, you know, this is what we're here for. This is what we're here for, to change the frequency, allow people to see their divinity in every way, and to meet in group. And thank you so much, Nina. So Rosemary put, by coming together, whether on the calls or in person or on sacred travel opportunities, we are offered the experience of being real, authentic, as well as receiving, sharing our beingness. We do this together. All are important to show up and to transform ourselves and the world. Beautiful.
Yeah. We invite, into this community, we invite your wisdom. There's something so special about when each of us shares our wisdom. It's just, it brings you to your knees almost, to know that, it's in each of us in this really amazing way.
That's
So,
yeah,
thank you.
great. Well, thank you. Thank you for everything you do. And thank you for sharing with me. I learned a lot on this call that I didn't know. I really appreciate it. Thank you. So, and everyone, please look at this website, milagroworldcenter.com, and see how, if it resonates with you, show up for some of the calls, and check out if you live in the Chicago area, check out Wild Raspberry. And also consider if you want to go on Secret Journey. That's a beautiful way for you to experience the divine and learn a lot about yourself when you're out of your old location into a sacred space. There's a lot of growth that can happen. So thank you, Nina. Thank you so much.
Can I mention just one more thing, Kathy? A great way to stay connected is through our Facebook community page too, which is on the website. So that's just a great way too.
Okay, and is that a page or a group? It's a page?
It's a group. It's a group. Yeah, so there's a lot of interaction. Milagro World Center community.
Oh, great. Oh, great. Well, thank you. Thank you. I didn't know about that either. Okay. Oh, well, I'm learning. I know some things, but I don't know. So, well, thank you, Nina. Appreciate it so much. And thank you all for coming and sharing your wisdom in the feed. And hope you will share this so more people will know about this work. It's beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you again, Kathy. Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.
Bye.